Hey guys, so let's run through some top tips for helping you get the right professional advice and avoid the mistakes of the wrong professionals. So it's very important to, first of all, we're going to talk about be the one paying the professional working in your best interests. So normally if you're the one offering a fee, paying a fee to someone to give you advice or carry out a service for you, they should generally have your best interests in heart. Whereas sometimes there won't be a fee for someone you're using, which seems great, but they're getting commission of some sort from someone else and working to sell you something. A lot of the times you need advice when you're in the dark, so you don't want them to have anyone else's interests ahead of yours. A big exception to this is probably a mortgage broker because they're set up very differently, but apart from that, it's a pretty good rule of thumb. The other general rule I use is to always make sure the services fee is being paid off by the quality of the advice. So you look at the right professional advice as not an expense that is out of pocket, but actually a saving. So for example, say a good financial advisor or good property investment advisor will save you their fee by increasing your returns over time with their advice. At the end of the day, the fee becomes a bit of a bargain. Same can be said, complete opposite end of the spectrum, like a lawyer whose advice could save you thousands, or a property manager who can save you thousands if they look after your property well and avoid lots of mistakes and costly things. Okay. Another tip, understand everything 80% of the way. So you need to outsource the execution, but not necessarily the knowledge, as common speak in property investment circles. So understand things as deeply as you can without taking too much time before you get advice to qualify that advice and know if you're being led astray or not. Another big one to look for is communication. I find communication a very useful gauge. Why? It's possible to have a good service without good communication sometimes. People can be knowledgeable about what they're doing, but it's very rare that you'll find a professional who has good communication skills and is bad at their service. The reason being is if they're communicating with you frequently and clearly, enabling you to understand things well, and the frequency as well shows action. If you communicate frequently, it's hard to not do anything between those communication points, which means action is happening, which means you might have someone proactive. So look for good communication. The rule of 3 is a good one as well. Normally always talk to 3 people if you can. Might be a bit different if you get referred or if you've used someone in the past. If you can talk to 3 lawyers, for example, or 3 real estate agents. These are the sort of things you can do to get a bit more understanding of what that sort of professional advice is like, what might be best for you. Social proof and referrals are also a massive thing to look into. So you want to look at what sort of reviews the person has, or if you know someone who has benefited from the good service or advice of another person. I always say as well that you should look for people's businesses or services who are built to get more clients rather than to squeeze the most out of a single client. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that someone who's really accountable to their service needs to leave you with a good impression of their business or service after everything is done, so that you become a raving fan and word of mouth to help them win more clients. People who are set up in that sort of way have every incentive to deliver good to you and give you honest advice, rather than to mislead you and sell you something and then you find out about it and ruin their reputation. So that's a big thing to look out for. Specialists over generalists is a big one. So whilst there are lots of accountants, there are lots of real estate agents, there are investment savvy mortgage brokers and non-investment savvy mortgage brokers, you can't paint all professionals in an industry with the same brush. Some have a specific expertise in the area you need help in. So it's always better to look for those sort of professionals rather than generic services. The other thing I would say is always look for people, if you can, who can give you a guarantee on the service. So if there's any sort of money back for a poor experience or poor advice, or any assurances you can get that take risk off you and onto the professional, that's normally a good sign to protect the worst case scenario. Another one I always say is stay away from people rather who try to sell the dream. Okay, because we know in property and investing that rewards come from long-term patient approaches. Okay, so anyone who's selling overnight success is normally a red flag. Apart from that, I would say always ask tough questions and don't be afraid to do so. So you need to be direct and to the point, and guides on those tough questions can be explained in other modules or in other resources that we'll attach. Last but not least, a good feeling. The oldest trick in the book, and not necessarily the biggest surprise, but you want to listen to your intuition. So if you get a good feeling about someone, you should absolutely listen to that. Whereas if you've got reservations and things don't feel like they're adding up, always listen to that and at least pursue that further before you make a decision, before it's too late. It's very rare that you regret acting on your gut, as long as it's well considered. So if you need help finding more specific information about different services, stay tuned to the other modules and also reach out to us with any questions or if you need referrals from us. Thank you very much, guys, and enjoy the rest of this series. Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Sydney Listings Academy. Just a quick disclaimer that this advice is generic and is not to be used by individuals. We take no liability for misuse of this information and encourage you to seek out professional advice specific to your situation. Please reach out to get in touch with our network of trusted professionals if you so need it. And just before you take off, just a quick note, obviously we're working on something with the Sydney Listings Academy to help educate people about the potential in property, finance and investing. So if you want to support the Sydney Listings Academy, please share the content with friends, family and followers if you have them. And also follow Sydney Listings on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and or YouTube, wherever you like to hang out, as well as our website, and check that out for more resources as well. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.